Here we go. Hey, it's Annabelle. Welcome to February Notes. This month actually felt like two. February is the shortest month of them all, but it has been a very transitional and transformative month. I want to first start doing a week by week little things I realized and learned, internal reflections, and then I will follow with some health improvement notes, and then a little Q&A, some miscellaneous updates, chapter 2 of the moving vlog. I had like a really kind of like shitty, I had shitty days like all through this month, but it doesn't feel like a waste of my time, if that makes sense, because at the end of the day, I really tried to see the value in them. Allowing myself to feel sadness or repressed anger or frustration or disappointment has been a really big step for my healing journey, because I got really used to downplaying my negative feelings. And I know that one should focus on the positive, but it's not like I want to focus on negative. It's more like when you need to experience these feelings, you just have to give that your attention. With that said, like a lot of what I'm coping with is the illness of my dad. So it has really changed from, it's been more than 5 years, you need to get over it, you need to like be stronger. It's turned into treating myself with kindness, like, wow, it's been more than 5 years and you guys are still in this together, and you really need to give yourself credit for that. And it's turned into something that I have to accept as like the whole picture of my life. I saw this powerful quote like the same day, and it feels really meant to be, that said, the true power is feeling it all and still finding beauty in life. More and more as I am processing my grief, the more I'm able to find nuggets of beautiful memories I experienced with him from childhood that maybe I would have forgotten. But I'd be like reading a book, and then suddenly this random word like diner triggers a sudden memory of like when my dad would take us over the weekend to this diner in South Bay, and it would be really sunny, and there was like this big poster with a cookie, and it said not actual size on it. And I remember that every time I went, and that is where my love of booths came about. And I would get a vanilla shake, and then we would like go to the art supply store, and my dad always spoiled us with these like full price expensive art supplies that are kind of meant for like serious or practicing artists, but then we would be in 3rd grade and 5th grade, and my mom was always like, no. Yeah, it just makes me happy, and I have the capacity to reach out to my dad and text him about, oh wow, I just had this memory about when we went to this place. I just want to say I'm really grateful for that experience. So that's like the end of week 1. And around that time, I actually got my health results back from this test I did, because speaking of that, a new aspect I'm taking on is thinking about my digestive system, and I'm not proud that I've gotten used to how my number 2 is really regular. I don't even remember the last time it was normal, and that's cause for concern. So it was a perfect time for Ombre Labs to come into my life. Thank you, Ombre Labs, for sponsoring this video, by the way. Basically, your gut has trillions of good and bad bacteria. If the balance is off, the bad bacteria will flourish and cause other problems. And symptoms can be like poor sleep. It can affect your mental wellness. It can also affect your immune system. And so Ombre Labs has this at-home test kit that you get that has every supply that you would need to get a little teeny poop sample. The clear instructions will guide you through the whole thing, and it's the same return package. It's all in there. You can even get a personalized subscription for probiotics based on your results. So if this is something you want to try out, use my link tryombre.com/Annabelle to get 70% off your test kit. Even if you don't have concerning poops, unlike me, it is never a bad thing to understand yourself more to better care for you. I'm very relieved, because assessing like the quality of my movements, I thought my gut health would have been terrible. I just lack a lot of good bacteria, so my bad bacteria is not like super flourishing. Now transitioning into week 2, I visited McNally Jackson and picked up this book called Laziness Does Not Exist. And boy, I think this set the tone for like the rest of the month for me, how it activated my like true slowing down period. Maybe it's the wrong word to say period. It's like philosophy, because it's not just like a period of time. I have to like constantly implement it forever. I'm only less than halfway through. What really got me was chapter 7, Shrugging Off Society's Shoulds. and I haven't read this chapter yet, but it super resonated with me because I had talked about a lot in therapy how I use the word should a lot, and it's very destructive. Basically, I realized that my motivations for a lot of the things I do in life are coming from a place of fear and lack. And should. It's more like, how can I reorient and design my goals so that it's something I want to do, or to say like, I must, blah, 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 or I want to, blah, 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 not I should. I really feared looking lazy to my audience, or I feared looking lazy to my family. I had to switch out the battery. But as I was saying, wow, I could just sit here and the whole video could be things I have realized after reading this book, but I'm going to make it brief. My notes on that is I had really began to rethink judgment upon myself and upon others, specifically in the categories of depression, procrastination, and apathy. There's this whole section that goes into it, and the book opens up with this quote as well. It says, "For Kim, who taught me if a person's behavior doesn't make sense, it's because I'm missing a piece of their context." I've been programmed to cast people into like moral good or bad, as in like, oh, if you do this, or if you're exhibiting laziness, then you must just be born like a rotten egg. Or in school, if people don't focus well, or there's just like a bad student, the system kind of shines its light and gives attention to the flourishing students and like really recognizes them, and just kind of like forgets about people who are struggling and actually need more help and support. And I just felt really seen because I was a bad student for a long time growing up, and I was constantly sent to the principal's office. I was seen as like a bad kid, and I truly believed that. Tough stuff. I'm taking it slow because every 2 sentences I read, I'm like having these realizations about myself and about others, and I feel like this book has just made me a more compassionate person as well, and it has given me the insight to like how burnt out I was and how I need to rest. And like, I've been resting for real. Like, I have been taking the time to myself and to rest, and it just feels great. And I think it really reflects in how I'm more present when I'm around people, when I'm speaking to you. I am here because I will read this little portion about burnout, because when you are experiencing burnout, the worst part is the impact it has on the sufferer's quality of life. Burning out is like going from seeing the world in color to seeing in only black and white. When we burn out, we stop being able to feel our emotions as intensely and may even experience pain and hunger less strongly, making it even harder to remember to be kind to ourselves. In addition, burned out people also have reduced ability to recognize emotions in other people, which means they can't connect as readily with their family and friends. This worsens their social isolation. Even after a burned out person leaves a situation that caused them to burn out, they may remain emotionally detached and apathetic for months to come. That brings us into week 3, where my note was just, I feel physically weak and that's okay. I had a whole panic moment before I went to martial arts. So I finally started going back to class, and instead of going about 8 times a month, I went 3 because I really lost all of the muscles. I'm showing up, and that's more than enough. And then like, I'm going to start again, because I can. Despite all of that though, my anxiety is really physical, so even if mentally I have talked myself up and I'm like being supportive, my body does not feel it. And I like constantly had acid training, I would eat Tums, and I just felt so uncomfortable. It just got worse as I stepped off the subway and started walking up to class. I thought, oh my gosh, if I show up and I'm doing all of the things I used to thrive at, but then I clearly lost the ability, I would just feel suddenly, I would just be suffering and feeling like this sucks and I'm embarrassed. I think that was what it was about. But I had to tell you, as soon as I showed up there and we started the drills, we started with kickboxing. Oh my gosh, it was just like a wave of fun just washed over me when I was like, wait, this is why I come, because I like this activity. I'm gonna go back tomorrow though, because I'm not so sore that I can't even move. But man, my arms, I realized like a year of living in the city had gotten me really into shape. Not only was I able to kind of go up and down stairs without losing my breath, I carried all my groceries home on my arms, and that was not happening because I went to California for a while, and then when I came back, I didn't do a lot of like heavy loads. So when I went to Trader Joe's, I had a really, really hard time getting home. Like my arms would cramp. It felt like rock climbing after not having climbed for a long time. It just froze up. I had to like go to the side of the road or find bus benches to just rest at, and I took 3 breaks. It also humbles me to realize, okay, cool, like it was hard work to bring home all of these heavy ass groceries, a lot of metal and glass, you know, my cat food. I don't like to shop online a lot, so I bring them from the store. Just by being yourself, you will be conditioned into exactly where you need to be. So I feel like I want to take on yoga, or maybe I should get some weights and just like do things at home, not for the sake of like meeting some expectation for myself to be like admirable in society, in our society that's like very like fat phobic, but it's for the enjoyment of the activity. Because when I worked out with my aunt in my December dailies, she does it a lot. I joined her for one of the days, and I realized how much I missed kind of like HIIT workouts. It wasn't extremely high intensity, but then it was interval, and I always thought that I was like super over going to the gym, bored of those videos where you just do it at home. But there's something that I enjoyed when I was not overexerting and I didn't like feel completely dead afterwards. I am more likely to crave it and like to want to do it again. Maybe it's like a perfectionist or like obsessive tendency to say, well, if I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna do it right. This is the acceptable, like impressive workout, rather than I want to work out because it feels good to lift my leg 10 times and I'm just gonna stop right there. Now I'm gonna go eat a brownie. That's the other stupid thing. Like, if I want to eat a dessert, if I'm gonna eat a cupcake after my class, don't ever fucking walk up to me and be like, didn't you just work out? Like, I'm gonna eat whatever I want to eat, and I'm gonna work out when I want to work out, and that's an enjoyable life for me. I don't want to have that like toxic relationship that like, oh, I'm gonna undo my workout because I want to eat something that's not like a celery stick. Oh, I keep doing that. I keep tugging on my earring. People have asked me where these earrings are from, and I gotta say, I think I got these in middle school, and it's from like a fast fashion company, just from the mall, you know. Go with my best friend, walk around. I do keep what I do have, and it is cute. After my second vlog came out, I got a DM where a really lovely viewer sent me notes that they got from a positive psychology class. There are 3 main lives that contain positive well-being. The pleasant life, associated with hedonic happiness, which is what I assume you meant when you're talking about pursuit of happiness. And then secondly, the good life, associated with flow, and then the meaningful life. Happiness is overrated because our views on happiness is often associated with hedonic pleasures, like things related to purchases, whether it was like a good meal, flowers, a good book. We adapt quickly to hedonic pleasures. Is it hedonic? It's hedonic, right? And this is especially true for material purchases such as clothes. And even though experiential purchases like going to an art museum have shown to bring us more happiness, this is only true if we viewed those experiences as positive. But back to the happiness is overrated point, there are 2 ideal lives. The good life associated with flow, which is basically the optimal experience. I have read the book by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. It's talking about how you are so enthralled with an activity and you're so focused that you don't notice anything else. You don't even feel particular emotions like happiness or anger. When we come out of it, we feel good about ourselves because essentially the experience has made you a more advanced being, like you had gained a skill or you had like done something that you're good at and you improved it just by practicing. Lastly, the meaningful life is what it says it is, having purpose, contributing not only to ourselves but those around us, developing our strengths and positive character traits, etc. And then she was like, I'm sorry this was so long. Never apologize. I feel like I'm also a long texter and I feel bad for like taking up time and space, but I'm like, I wanted to share that note. It was really lovely. And now we are at our Q&A session. So I picked out 5 questions from this giant bank of questions I got a while ago. Number 1, how do you get out of a funk? And what do you do on a bad day when you can't even focus on distractions? So I think the first thing is you do have to sit with your feelings and acknowledge them. Just like at the beginning of the video, I was telling you about how I do that. But then when you are in a funk and you want to like turn it around, I start to panic sometimes when I realize like half the day has gone by and I'm having a bad day and it's gonna feel like a waste if I don't turn it around, and I kind of feel pressure to do something. So first, just relax and realize that it can't be a waste of time if you are taking in every experience in the moments that come. And sometimes you just draw a bad card and you can't be happy every second of every day. But what I can do to try to get out of a funk is make an effort to consider myself. And then in my head, I flickered through a bunch of different activities. I'm like, well, I could take a bath. Oh no. Oh, I could take myself on a meal and I could read this new book I was excited about. No, I really don't feel that. Or I can call this friend or I can call that friend. And then like a lot of times I run through several activities and I'm like, no, I don't want to do any of that. No, I don't want to do any of that. But like try to build up a library, like a go-to list of things that will allow you to find the little things that you appreciate in life. I will sit down and have like a nice eye contact with my cat and I'm just like, wow, this is really special. Like, I like you, you like me? Or I'm like, hey, what's something that I've been meaning to do that I keep saying is not important? You know what? Screw it. I'm going to do that today. Like the other day I made this little clay circle and I've just been really wanting to put beads in clay for no reason. Like this is not ceramics. I'm just talking about like modeling clay. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And then I did. And I was like, this is great. And every time I look at it, what I'm reminded of is like the permission I gave myself. Joy is allowed. It's not achieved. So I was like, I love that. A simple answer to how to bring myself out of a funk is to be with myself and also see the world. I'll go out, I'll take a walk, finding the little things that make me happy. Like, okay, I had to go grocery shopping and I saw artichokes. Man, I haven't had artichokes in a long time. And like, they didn't really make me full because out of the whole freaking thing, you only eat a tiny bit of it. But then I bought 2 artichokes, I steamed it for myself and I had it for dinner. And that was like a highlight of my day. Granted, there's so much that we don't have control over in life, but it doesn't mean that there aren't things that you do have control over that can bring that momentary enjoyment. There are days where I still kind of feel like, damn it, like that just sucks, like but don't worry, because time goes on and after this moment's passed, you have the next moment. And I like this quote that's like, every hour is a new opportunity to turn over a new leaf. You can wish to change at any moment you want. If you're really stuck on homework and you're super stressed about like a big deadline, you gotta take a break, and that only rest actually will like bring your creativity back. This book had actually touched on that. Question number 2, do you miss California? No. Pros and cons to New York and California. I don't miss California because I kind of just like lived there most of my life, and a part of why I feel like I like New York or I'm acclimated to it is because I lived in a city when I was very young in Shenzhen. I think the amount of people, the hustle and bustle, and the public transportation is not something I had to completely like learn. That also makes me less fazed for how like unsafe and scary a city is, but especially with recent events, it makes me very distraught and upset. I have the support from therapy and my close friends to talk about that, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. What I don't like about California is that it's not very walkable, and the highway traffic, damn, I would rather be stuck and commuting on a subway where I can like read and think about things rather than have to make sure I'm not going to rear end someone because I'm so over this stop and go traffic, you know? I do like being able to sing in a car, so I miss that a little bit. But I just don't miss California because I had only experienced living in the Bay Area in high school. I didn't do a lot of the fun cultural things. I wasn't exposed to a lot of like the fun things that the youth did. A lot of my friends from the area, they would tell me all of their favorite spots. I'm just like, I don't have any of those experiences. Being in the outskirts, like in a suburb too, it's peaceful, which is beautiful, but it just feels really barren. And at this point in my life, I don't want that. New York is really inconvenient though. Like being in a city, it's like, oh, you just want to go to the grocery store, but you have to manage like, this time I'm gonna buy 1 orange juice because I can't buy like 3 beverages because the water weight is not gonna make it for me. I can't drive, I can't park. But parking is a double-edged sword because sometimes you just can't find parking anywhere in California. And New York is just new to me because I didn't grow up in this area, and I started experiencing it throughout college, and all of the memories were very happy because one of my best friends, William, lived here. So I would visit him multiple times. We just had a lot of fun. He moved away, but I think he's moving back. One of my favorite things is traveling across the Manhattan Bridge and looking at the view of Brooklyn Bridge and the city and Brooklyn and the water and the Ferris wheel that's in the glass box. That view just hasn't gotten old for me because I'm new here, and every time I'm like, but see, that's the thing, like I feel like I really took the Bay Area for granted. I'm just like, whatever. Yeah, I grew up here, so I don't find it amusing. I think instead I would actually want to feel more like a tourist in my own home. Like if I were to ever be in the Bay Area again, I actually want to like get out there and try. And I used to really want to live in SoCal, like San Diego, and I heard great things from Claire when she went to school there. But like now I'm thinking I don't really like it that hot. I don't mind it being really cold and having to be snuggled up, but I cannot deal with constant year-round hot weather when you're in the car and your thighs are like stuck to your car seat. I like the constant change. New York gets really hot in the summer too. What is your Chinese name? It is Gao Anna. I think my mom said it's more of an afterthought because my name was meant to be Anna and they wanted it to translate directly. In the Chinese ideologies, your name will like influence a lot in your life, almost like in a feng shui way. The strokes in your name count, as well as like the kind of characters. If you use certain words, it will bring elements into you. Like if your energy runs hot or cold, then you need to bring other ones, I don't know, like wood or metal or something like in your name that will like help you. My mom had gone to a professional to change her birth given name to another specific name, and she was like, you should do it sometime too. And maybe I will, because I'm not attached to Gaana. It's not an impressive name. It has no meaning. It has no like poetry in it. So, but this month I also realized maybe I don't like hearing my last name Annabelle Gao because it just sounds weird, because my last name is pronounced Gao. So then Gao, in my head I've been saying Annabelle Gao more than Annabelle Gao. Now, number 4, how do you manage your finances? Essentially, I journal and I try to save at least 25% of my income every month. Sometimes I can't, so like drop down to 10 or 20%, but sometimes being like a per contract kind of self-employed person, I'll have a really big month and I'll try to save like 50% or more of it. So just try to save as much as you can. That's how I manage it. And then I use the app Mint that breaks down your spending habits to help you set budgets and be more conscious. So that's in a nutshell. And number 5, would you say moving to New York has changed you? One way is I take things less personally. Just because you are exposed to so many people, endless people, not only has it humbled me to see people in all walks of life, and to also like kind of help me gain my sense of identity, like, and how I fit into all of this. Do you ever sit in the subway and stare at like this car full of people and you're like, wow, all of these people have stories and like very, very like detailed lives that I know nothing about. And I've had a couple of experiences where I talk to people on the subway. Coming from a generation where almost everyone is on their phones and stuff, and like also really shy to talk to strangers, it was nice. It was nice to not feel like I owe this person anything. We just talked about something. Like I was reading a book and they're like, that book was so good, and I started talking to them for 2 minutes and then we stopped talking and it's not awkward, and then I just like get off, or they get off, and we don't say goodbye because our paths are just crossed like the tiniest bit in that moment in time. This guy was talking to me. He was like, do you read Korean? Because he couldn't tell, because he needed help with something. I'm like, no, I'm Chinese. He's like, oh, me too. Do you live around here? So at first I was like, this man asking me where I live. But then it was just like, he actually just wanted to chit chat. So then I let my guard down a little bit and we started talking about random things. This was like 2 weeks ago, so I can't remember. But then he was like, okay, well, this is my stop now, so have a great day. My fashion sense, my music sense has also changed a little bit too. This one is one of my most comfy outfits. Okay, baggy pants. I have to have these because I wear thermals under. Today I have poo under. I love shoes, so I have some nice sneakers and some boots, and that really like tops it off, along with cute jewelry. It adds some glam. Like, look at this beautiful heart earring that Nina gifted me. By the way, my nails are temperature sensitive, so the hotter I am, it's gonna be like super, super yellow. Right now I'm at a comfortable medium, but if I'm really cold, it will turn very orange. Lastly, here are the miscellaneous updates and finds. Lilith, my sister, is visiting home for a whole month because she couldn't make it home for the holidays, and she sent me this hilarious video.
要服啊！哎，不要不要，你们的手拿开，我看着害怕，是不是很难搞？这真的不是完美手。我脚不是，来我扶一下。我这是已经差1.9倍重了。 你这个角度不对，这花没熟，行不行？拿出来玩。
卡住了。行，我来，你手上还，我来拿。
往下弄，往下。
不是拿出来。
我来呀！你这大手指头放那要切手指，你让开我来。我觉得这一关没熟，我觉得强烈的觉得这一关有问题。那当时怎么就没白的？我得去退货。完了，你这没熟。那你要起一口才能够抬吧？是没熟。
你怎么吃一口？
没有啊？
你看着是
看着不像没熟的，成了吗？不像没熟，为什么这么难搞嘞
Speaking of my sister, as you know, she's expecting and oh my gosh, she's like coming into her last trimester. And I am really, really thrilled about being an aunt. I went out with my friend Annie and I came across a really cool consignment kids store in Brooklyn. It's called Owl Tree. I highly recommend it because it's very curated. A lot of the things are in brilliant condition. And I got 2 little is it called like a footsie or a footie? Look at this. So this one looks a little more worn because the color is faded, but it's bamboo and it's perfect for the summertime. And it has like little traction, so it's good for 0 to 3 months. And then secondly, I had to get this because the prints, this is like threefold. So 1, RC is Year of the Monkey. So my sister kind of likes buying monkey things. And 2, the color and pattern is kind of like my sister's style with the blue and the white. And then 3, RC and her have really wanted to go to Portugal. He loves Lisbon. I'm just like, this reminds me of the Portuguese tiles. So look at this. It's a little bit less convenient though because you kind of have to take off the top half to change the baby. So hopefully this could be more like an overnight pajama. They also have teen clothes and maternity clothes. So highly recommend you go check them out. The owners were so nice. I think it was like a couple of sisters. It gave me a very like positive impression. And lastly, I wanted to share these cool glasses I got. I have been wearing the same pair of blue light glasses for a long time that you saw in my vlogs. They kind of look like Harry Potter but less circular. I decided to order myself some more fashionable ones. This is amazing. I love this one. Okay, this is like my foundation. I'm just gonna wear this out now as like my everyday accessory. And I even spent a little more money for the lens to be like thinner and then more advanced. It's more greenish. However, it's not placebo. I have worn this enough to tell you that when I do not wear these, I will get headaches, I will get eye strain, and this 100% has been effective. This I couldn't resist to get. Look, they're hearts. You can't see it as much, but it's okay. I know they're hearts. And the silly thing is, I don't know how I ended up getting 2 on accident. I bought a duplicate. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give it away. Give it away to you. So check out my Instagram. I'm going to post it sometime in the next couple of days, the how to enter and everything. And we can be twins. We can be matching. They have no prescription, so you kind of have to wear contacts if you want to wear them, and you have so you know. All right, my loves, that is my entire February notes. I'm filming this a little bit earlier than the last day of the month just to be able to post when I am posting. So meanwhile, February is not technically over for me. My best friend is visiting me and we're gonna do a lot of fun stuff, so you'll see that in March, either in a vlog or my March notes. So in the meantime, I hope that you take care and that you rest. I will see you so soon. Goodbye.